What's up, everyone? Here for another Who Are They Real Review, and today we are here to talk to you about the long-awaited Snyder Cut of Josstice League.
Absolutely. It's I was talking to somebody about it today. It's like this always kind of felt like something that was never going to happen, and now it almost feels like we'll get into it later, but we all are maybe going to get even more of it. I don't think so, but we'll see. Oh my gosh, like who would have thought that we would be sitting here after? Who would have thought we would have made it through 4 hours of Zack Snyder's Justice League, let alone anything else? So.
Yeah, no, it's incredible that we're finally here at this moment. I honestly, and you know me, I was one of the big detractors of there is no Snyder Cut. It's just Justice. That is his cut, and ultimately, I was proven wrong.
And I'm glad that you were. I'm very, very, very happy that you were proven wrong. This movie, though long in places, was a tremendous upgrade as to what we got. I mean, Matt and I have discussed this. It's relatively the same plot to the movie, but you get more. It's more drawn out. You get so much to this film that was left on the drawing board. A lot of the scenes are different because of the way that they were shot originally. And you could tell where there's reshoots. It was primarily towards the end, but I'll tell you, what a film. As in, like, you know, a lot of movies that, like, you know, we watch, and I remember us seeing Batman versus Superman and being super duper hyped by it.
And then, not even 5 days later, oh my God, that movie.
This movie did not leave me with that feeling. No. But it's partially due to the fact that I did not enjoy what we originally got as much as I enjoy of this movie. Scenes that were, you know, it's interesting to compare and contrast. Scenes that were originally in the, we're going to call it Justice League because I don't even want to say the other guy's name.
It's Josstice League. That's what everyone's calling it, Josstice League.
I don't want to even say his name. Compared to what we got out of Zack Snyder's Justice League. And Zack Snyder, I'll admit, even just with this DC stuff, has been hit or miss for me. To me, I'm not going to be like, oh, this is the greatest film in the world, but he definitely hit for me here. It left me wanting more of whether we're going to get more of it or not. I don't know. Probably not. But, you know, I think that if we all clamor for it enough, maybe we'll get a continuation of it in some way. Yeah. But I enjoyed this film thoroughly. It made me love characters that I wanted to love in the first one. It made me love characters even more that I did love in the first one, and completely changed their arc in a way that made everything better. So, Matt, take it away.
Yeah, no, you touched on something I had, and it's people who are like, "Oh, this movie we got, we're supposed to get." You were partly right. Overall, it's still the same narrative. Mm-hmm. It's just we're getting that needed background from certain situations and certain characters that we didn't get in the theatrical cut film. Mm-hmm. Two characters who vastly have their story improved are Barry Allen and Cyborg. Mm-hmm. Now there's still the issue of Cyborg kind of coming off one note. Yes, but I guess that's just how they wanted to go about that character. It is what it is. Overall, his overarch in this film is changed, and for the better.
Yes.
Barry Allen, we learn more about him. The only issue I have is, like, he seems to do like every single power the Flash has right out of the gate. If this was supposed to be the movie we're supposed to get, it's like, what? Why is he so OP right away? Like, he's supposed to be the one out of the group that's still like Cyborg learning their. That's why they're supposed to mess like that. Mm-hmm. So,
I think he does kind of allude to the fact that, like, he knows about the Speed Force and that he's not supposed to go there. So, to me, this is one of those situations where it's like we're not telling Uncle Ben's story when it comes to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. He's Spider-Man, and he's learned enough about himself to know what's right and what's wrong, but he's still learning about how to use his powers. Though I won't disagree with you that he's like incredibly overly powered at first, no doubt about that. But I will kind of admit that, like, you know, his mother's gone at this point, his dad's in jail. We don't necessarily, though. I guess it's not like Flash is a character that's been done a million times. I mean, you have the TV show
But
and
it
stuff,
was done great via the TV show for at least the first 2 or 3 seasons.
and that's true. I've seen a few episodes. I enjoy it, but it's my point is it's like, you know, Flash isn't necessarily a character in the general public that they're going to know the backstory of so soon. That said, it wouldn't have fit in this film, and it's not like we got a Flash film beforehand. No. And the Flash film that we're going to get takes place afterwards. So we're probably going to get some glimpses of what's happened and stuff like that. And Flash shows up in Suicide Squad. He's in Batman versus Superman with this long hair and stuff like that. So we don't even know how long he's known that he has these powers. He's not even considering himself the Flash at this point.
Thank you, the CW Crisis on Infinite Earths. God, you were a waste. Sorry.
It's true though, but my point is, it's like, you know, he's not necessarily. We're to a point where he's had the powers for a little while, but he's not necessarily calling himself the Flash yet. So it's like, what? Where are we within this narrative of Barry Allen?
I think that's part of my issue though, because so he's not calling himself the Flash, but he's basically tapped into every single OP power the Flash is known to have.
And I agree. It's like, you know, I feel like we're kind of thrown this character our way. There's Barry Allen's character in this, though. It's very much so. You get Iris West for a few seconds, played by one of my favorite actresses, Kiersey Clemons.
Yes.
You get the story of his mom a little bit with his dad. You get the side of him where he's trying to get a job so he can get his dad out, which was never in obviously the first cut. But it's like the character of the Flash, his origin is so shrouded in mystery even after the Snyder Cut comes out still. Because it's like the only part of his origin that we know of is that he stole milk from a convenience store and he had long hair.
Yeah.
That's all we know. And I want to know more.
See, and you brought up Kiersey Clemons as Iris West. And that is something, that was a great scene. But it is the epitome of one of the issues I have with this movie, and this is probably the other major issue I have, is you could probably get back 20 minutes of this runtime by cutting back on the slow-mo.
Yes, but it's Zack Snyder. Like, that's something that we're not going to be able to avoid. But every single Snyder film has slow motion.
I know, but when it's already an extremely long film, I still got to critique this in a way. When it's already an incredibly long film, and you're giving me all of this slow motion, you don't need all of these shots. I don't need to see a casing from a giant bullet thing coming from Batman's Batmobile and just a slow-mo of the casing dropping. I didn't need that. I understand the Flash's stuff being at slow-mo because he's moving at a different speed than everyone else. That makes sense. But there are certain times in this film where it's just like, oh, let's add to the drama of it. And it's like, you don't need to do that. There are certain times in the film where you're stuck looking at shots that could definitely be cut down. And you can see why it was cut down because they're similar shots. They're virtually the same shots that were used in the theatrical cut.
Right.
But something I do is the improvement in the score.
Yeah.
Junkie XL's score for this film is phenomenal. Like, my God. Danny Elfman is always going to be a legend. But this fit. Mm-hmm. Were there points where it felt like a generic action movie score? Here and there, but there weren't many.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree there. It's so intriguing to, like, because the score was just kind of added to, right? Like, It wasn't necessarily, I mean, clearly some scenes needed a new score. And I guess there's no better transition into that to talk about the ending, because that's one of the things that, it's going to be controversial, the ending.
Yes. Because if they didn't add it, it could have been a nice, cleanly ended film if they didn't add it.
But Zack Snyder, I don't know what he wants at this point. And what sucks about it is, like, Ray Fisher is pretty much going to be done with Cyborg after this, unless for some reason something happens. I just don't know. Like I do think that there could be enough clamoring to get a second film just the same way that the Snyder Cut. What's going to determine that? It's HBO Max.
Yeah, and I was actually talking to someone in the sphere about this because they were putting out their remarks to Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I'm like, okay. I asked them what they thought, and we had a conversation about, and I know this is somewhat controversial, but Snyder fans have been compared to a cult at times, and they bullied HBO Max into Warner Brothers into putting this out somehow.
No doubt about it, but it's like,
and I think knowing that he got that to work that way is partly why he added some of this stuff,
because he thinks that he can get another deal out of it. And to that, there's been some parts of this film that were really intriguing that I would like to continue to watch. Yeah. The idea, and spoilers, by the way, because these are some really big spoilers. What we were talking about before was stuff that we thought we were going to get. This right here is a huge spoiler. And I don't mean it in
going to spoilers.
Oh, never mind. I kind of thought we already did a little bit, but all right. There's parts of the ending of the film that explain a lot.
Yes.
That kind of explain what it felt a little Marvel-esque with some characters in Infinity War. I'll just leave it at that. Where, and there was some pairings of characters and stuff like that. It's just like there's going to be, not to go on too long about this, is all I'm going to say is that there's going to be a reason as to why a sequel to Zack Snyder's Justice League makes sense. I do want it because I did enjoy the film. I do think that a second film can wrap everything up if that's the route that they're going to go.
If they give another 4-hour film, maybe.
Right. Yes. Do I think we're ever going to get it? No. Just because of controversy behind the scenes with certain people, and rightfully so. Yes. Certain people leaving their roles behind. Though they did come back for the reshoot, so.
Yeah, but he said the reshoots were the final time he was going to be.
Right, and that sucks
it is
because I love this character. Everybody who's watching this knows who I'm talking about at this point, but I'll just leave it at that. But overall, Zack Snyder's Justice League is something that I'm now going to want more.
There is something we haven't touched on yet that I think we need to bring up, and that is how markedly better the CGI was in this film.
Yes, details when it came to Parademons
and Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf looked considerably better. And that's not even spoilery because Steppenwolf looked like Steppenwolf at the end of Batman vs Superman, which didn't really make a whole hell of a lot of sense as to why they changed him up. I just don't get that myself. It doesn't make any sense because the character's already been established in a certain way.
Well, once again, that was only because it was in the Ultimate Cut.
Right, but it's like, why change something that's already there?
Because in WB's mind, it's the canon of it all. It's he wasn't seen in the theatrical cut, so we can get away with changing him and try to make him in this cheaper way. Because ultimately, I think what that decision came down to in the theatrical cut was dollars. Especially in this one, you see all the moving spikes and pieces, where as in the theatrical cut, he's basically a humanoid-looking creature with a helmet, and
he looked like Ares.
Yeah,
I mean that's the perfect way to describe it. And it's just like there's so much better to this film. A lot of scenes that you see kind of felt like they were due justice, and I don't mean any puns there, obviously. But you can compare and contrast the films pretty easily if you have a recency bias to watching the other cut of Justice League. You can compare and contrast where certain things are way different and where certain things are very similar, because there is stuff that is stayed the same.
Yes.
If you like that scene where they see Superman for the first time, you're gonna love this scene in this movie because it's slightly different, but it's pretty much the exact same thing.
Yeah. So Nick, if you're going to rate this, what are you going to give it?
I am going to give it a controversial 4 out of 5. And I'm saying controversial because I don't know how people are going to react to this film. You know, I'm basing my 4 out of 5 off of what I got before and what I got now and how much more I enjoyed it. I mean, an aspect ratio, which we haven't talked about,
1:4:3:1.
right, would have an aspect ratio change would have made this film even more better for me. I don't even know if I would have given it a 4.5, but it's not a perfect film, but it's definitely a much better thing than what we got.
Yeah. If I'm giving it a rating, we're close, but I'm still a little bit different. I'm at a 3.5 out of 5 reels. I feel like there is a great film in there. You could probably lose about an hour of this, and you may have a near perfect film. There's a lot. You can see why there was certain cuts made in the theatrical version, but they shouldn't have capped it off at that 2-hour mark like they were saying back then. There's still some issues. The dialogue isn't as cringy this time around. And I know people are like, oh, Zack Snyder said there's no jokes in his. Zack Snyder's comedy is some of the slyest. It's just going to come naturally stuff, and people are going to laugh. It's not. I'm trying to make a joke. It's
Barry Allen came across as incredibly comedic reliefy in the first cut. You know,
he still comes off as comedic relief, but more naturally this time around.
Right. It's like he has a character to him. It's not just the comedic relief of this film, which is what I kind of thought that he was for this last film. But hey, we're running this a little long. Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think that we both would recommend watching it.
Yes.
Whether you're going to watch it in the series aspect of it, it is broken into 6 parts. So you're going to be able to do that if you just want to sit through one part and then pause it and then continue back onto it. There is that ability because it is long. It is it's not, you know, what's crazy about it is The Irishman felt longer to me, and you'd still have.
I agree, but I think that's because this was an action film. It's a superhero film, so it's got that stuff to keep your attention going and keep your mind paying attention. Whereas The Irishman's just a straight up drama and slow burn.
It is, and that doesn't mean that either film is bad. It's just like there's a lot of filmmakers out there who are taking chances on longer form films, and this is no different than that. You know, when Snyder got the okay for this film, there was no doubt in my mind that he was going to pack it with as much as he possibly could from his original cut. And the thing with film is a million different things get shot, and a million different things. Every single film could probably be about 4 hours long. There's a lot of stuff that gets cut out in the cutting room floor that is for the better. But there was no doubt in my mind that he was going to pack this thing to the brim with film, with everything that he shot. And more power to him. He got screwed, but he was able to give it his just due. And Zack Snyder's Justice League, good flick.
Yeah,
it was missing Family Guy characters.
But no, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Check it out on HBO Max, March 18th. Like, comment, subscribe. Give us your thoughts on this film in the comments. Tell us what you think. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree with us? Are you looking forward to this? What are you most looking forward to? Tell us. We want to know in the comments down below. Remember, hit that bell over there. Get notified when we go live and do all of our or put out new content. We got a lot going on over here. But signing off, I'm Matt.
I'm Nick.
And this is another Who Are They Real Review. Have a good night.